glorification of Bhagavatam on a Sunday morning. Hare Krishna. So, we are reading from Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, the creation, chapter 17, the rewards and punishment of Kali. And we were discussing, till yesterday we discussed verses 14 and 15, and Krishna willing, today we will talk about verse 16 and 17. Before we start, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasa tato jayam mudirayet nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So reading from Canto 1, chapter 17, Punishment and Rewards of Kali, and text 16. Ragno hi paramo dharma Swadharma sthanupalanam Shashato nyanyatha shastram Anapadya utpanahi Ragno hi paramo dharma Swadharma sthanupalanam Shashato nyanyatha shastram Anapadyat utpatanahi. Would anyone like to?
Ragyo hi paramo dharmaha.
Ragyo hi paramo dharma. Swadharma sthanupalanam.
Shashato nyanyatha shastram.
Shashato nyanyatha shastram. Anapadya utpataniha. Ragno hi paramo dharma. Swadharma sthanupalanam. Shashato nyanyatha shastram. Anapadya utpataniha. Shashato nanyatha shastram anatpadyutataniha. Synonyms: Ragnaha, the king or the executive head. He, certainly. Paramaha, supreme. Dharmaha, occupational duty. Swadharmastha, one who is faithful to his prescribed duty. Anupalanam, giving protection always. Shashataha, while ruling. Anyan, others. Yatha, according to. Shastram, ruling of scriptures. Anapadi, without danger. Utpathan, persons going astray. Iha, as a matter of fact. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinance of the of the scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. Purport: in the scriptures, there is a mention of apad dharma, or occupational duty at time of extraordinary happenings. It is said that sometimes the great sage Vishwamitra had to live on the flesh of dogs in some extraordinary dangerous situation. In case of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description, but that does not mean that there should be a regular slaughterhouse to feed the animal eaters, and this system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live in a flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of the palate. If one does so, the king or the executive head should punish him for gross enjoyment. There are regular scriptural injunctions for different persons engaged in different occupational duties, and one who follows them called swadharmastha, or faithful in one's prescribed duty. In Bhagavad Gita 18.48, it is advised that one should not give up his occupational prescribed duties, even if they are not always flawless. Such swadharma might be violated in case of emergency, if one is forced by the circumstance, but they cannot be violated in ordinary times. The state executive head is to see that such swadharma is not changed by the follower, whatever it may be, and he should give all protection to the followers of swadharma. The violator is subject to the punishment in terms of shastra, and the duty of the king is to see that everyone strictly follows his occupational duty as prescribed in the scriptures. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitamstam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shri Sahalalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayevracha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for coming on a Sunday morning on a long weekend for a Srīmad Bhāgavatam class. It is enlightening to see the devotees coming in and at the same time put some pressure on me that I speak something which is worthwhile. So let's start with an anecdote. It is kind of an anecdote. Not yesterday, but the day before in a class we talked about that how after Shri Krishna departed the planet, Yudhishthira Maharaj actually and all the Pandavas, they left for Mahaprasthan. And when Yudhishthira Maharaj left so they were all going, they started towards north, towards Himalaya. And as they were going, there was a dog following Yudhishthira Maharaj. And as they were going, Yudhishthira Maharaj at some point reached to Badrikashram. And that's where the plane from the heavenly kingdom came to take Yudhishthira Maharaj with him. And Yudhishthira Maharaj knew that there is a dog who is faithfully following him. Asked to the dutas that can the dog come with me? And they said, no, dog are not allowed in heaven. So he was said, no, he can't come. So then Yudhishthira Maharaj said that I can't come either. The dog has been following me so faithfully through all the way, and if dog can't come, I can't come either. The dog was Dharmaraj himself. He was just testing the Yudhishthira Maharaj that how righteous he is, how religiously steady he is in his principles. And the point I'm trying to make here by this, that they were such leaders. Yudhishthira Maharaj is a perfect example of an ideal leader. Parikshit Maharaj is a grandchild of Yudhishthira Maharaj. They are the example of the ideal leaders. And in this verse, actually Prabhupada talks about the duty, not in this verse actually, from verse 14, 15, 16, we have been reading from a couple of days, that Prabhupada talks about how rightful, how powerful the leader should be. And then Prabhupada in the purport actually also talks about the leader's duty is to establish dharma. Kali's duty is to establish adharma. And hence, Kali and a rightful leader they are kind of against each other. And we hear in scriptures, in Srīmad Bhāgavatam, in all Vedic scriptures, time and again, that all Vedic scriptures only talk about what? Following the religious principles, establishing dharma. Krishna also appeared for this reason, yada yada hi dharmasya glanirnirvavati bharata. His devotees who are favorite to Krishna, they also work on the same principle. So just let's delve a little bit into this dharma principle, and then let's talk about, in the translation Prabhupada mentioned that there are extraordinary circumstances. So what he is referring to, what are these extraordinary circumstances? What are the rules and regulations and do's and don'ts? So starting with dharma, Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, chapter 13, verse 19 says, Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavad pranitam. That the law of dharma are actually basically religious principle enunciated by Krishna himself. And what is the dharma? So dharma is basically order of the Supreme Court. No one can manufacture it, no one can amend it. And those who are the offender of dharma, they are subject to the punishment. And this is what we are discussing in current chapter. Then another term Prabhupada mentioned in the purport is swadharmastha. But before we talk about Swadharmastha, let's just talk about Swadharma. We hear also this term now, like quite often in classes, in scripture, Swadharma. What is Swadharma? So that Prabhupada explains in one of his parts. The dharma means a particular type of engagement for a particular body according to the nature. A particular type of an engagement for a particular body according to the nature. So in human form of body, we have heard the Varnashram Dharma, Brahman, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Shudra, and then there are 4 social orders, Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, Grihastha, and Sannyasa, like that. Similarly, animals, they don't have a dharma because they are not civilized, but they also act according to nature. Tiger is accustomed to eat meat. He's going to eat meat only, right? So that's basically the intrinsic nature of a living entity is Swadharma. Then we have also heard a term called Sanatana Dharma. Few times we heard, okay, there is a Swadharma, there is a Sanatana Dharma. So what is the understanding of Sanatana Dharma? Sanatana Dharma means, Prabhupada explains that in Srīmad Bhāgavatam, chapter 7, Canto 7, chapter 11, text 2. That Sanatana Dharma means devotional service. And the word Sanatana refers to eternal, something that goes over the time period, which does not change but continues in all circumstances. We have several times explained that what is the occupational duty of living entity? Jivera Swarupe Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains this. Dharma of a water is to make things wet. Dharma of a fire is to burn. Dharma of a light is to give brightness. Dharma of a living entity is to serve. And that's where we derive the happiness. And it's not something that we are hearing for the first time. We have heard this time and again, but they are basic, fundamental, rudimental concept in any activity that we do. So now, those people who are situated in their Swadharma perfectly and performing Sanatana Dharma, so as a Grihastha or as a mother, I am looking after my family life in a way that they can grow, my child can grow in a Krishna conscious way, in a way that I can serve my family in a Krishna conscious way, then I am seated in a Swadharma. So then I am called Swadharmastha. So just the understanding of the few terms that we have heard. Now, Srila Prabhupada in the translation makes a point, 2 points actually, that the supreme duty of the ruling king is to give protection. So 1, to give protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise who stray from the ordinance of the scriptures in ordinary times. So protect the law-abiding citizen and punish the miscreants. And then there is a caveat that in ordinary times when there is no emergency. That makes us think, because that's how human mind thinks, okay, these things are not allowed. That means in other times they are allowed, right? So that implies that in extraordinary times or in case of emergency, there can be some flexibility, some relaxation. And so that means there are rules, there are principles, there are norms, there are regulations, and exceptions also. So, and with those things, so many questions comes. When I was preparing for the class, I was meditating, and then these questions came into my mind that, what could be such extraordinary circumstances where there is a flexibility given? Or how do we understand what is norm, what is exception, what are rule, what are principle? And does it mean that in case of emergency, it's okay not to follow our dharma? So let's try to unpack all this philosophy by keeping our spiritual life in center. So in Padma Purana and in Nectar of Devotion also, that's how the Nectar of Devotion begins. There is a one basic principle is Smartavyam Satatam Krishna Vismartamya Najatuchit Sarve Nidhir Shur Itayor Eva Kim Karaha. It's Smartavyam Satatam Krishna. Smartavyam, remembering. Satatam, always. So our duty is to remember Krishna always. Vismartavyam, do not forget, na jatujit, never forget Krishna. Remember always Krishna, never forget Krishna. And this is the basic principle of our spiritual journey. Now, and sarva vidhi nished sure etayor eva kim karo. So all vidhi and nished, all do's and don'ts, rules and regulations, rules and prohibitions are subservient to this principle. So remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, and all other rules are actually serving to that broader principle. Now, if we think of rules and regulation, compare with road and a Google Map scenario, because we all use Google Map, I do on daily basis. So the rules are like roads, and the purpose of rules is what? Purpose of rules is to actually provide us clear, uninterrupted, easy pathway to take us to the destination. But sometimes there is a traffic jam. Sometimes there are accidents. Sometimes there is some calamity, there is a pant hole on the road. And that means the route that we have set up in the Google is no longer the best or the fastest route. We have to take an alternative road. And so basically, then we take an alternative road and reach to the destination. But in both circumstances, either we following the rule that we have set up in the road that we have set up in the Google, or we take an alternative road. In both activity, what we are trying to do, in the background, we are trying to follow one principle, that we are trying to reach to the destination, whichever way it takes us. So the fastest way, the shortest way, that is our standard setting in the Google, that is like a norm, that is like a standard. Alternative way, that sometimes that we take via Google, that is like apad dharma, or that is like an exception. Prabhupada also talks about apad dharma in the first line of the purport. Apad comes from, apad is a Sanskrit word, and it means that exception, or apad means calamity, misfortune, or danger, or distress. So apad dharma means the allowance to follow a rule in case of misfortune, in case of a calamity, in case of exceptional circumstances, where standards could be slightly lower.
I think that's apart.
Sorry, Prabhu?
It's apart.
I mean, the way it is written here is apad. Sorry, I said apad. Apad dharma, yes, you're right. And we have heard apati, difficulty. So I think apati also come from the root word, Sanskrit word, apad. So basically, yes. So in both endeavors, by following either following our standard norms and practices, or sometimes by apad dharma, in both endeavors, what we try to reach to the destination, and that is the underlying principle. And that is why it is more important to understand the principle more than to follow the rules. Now, when this is all very philosophical. If we break it down to the example, for example, if a father is trying to give a medicine to a child, and in order to give the medicine, sometimes father lies that it tastes very beautiful, very sweet. So lying is actually breaking a principle. But the higher principle is to give the medicine to the child because it is a welfare for the child. Right? So that's one example. Another example, during the pastime of Srila Prabhupada, when there was a debate about book distribution actually. There were a group of devotees, all of them were book distributors, one group of devotees. In order to distribute book, they were being flexible, sometimes did not say everything truth, and they distributed books. On the other side, there are those devotees who are very honest, truthful, and trying to distribute books. And because of these two different approaches, there had been some tension. So His Grace Bhurijan Prabhu, who is the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada, talking about this difficulty. And in the letter he mentioned, saying that, I stood by the principles of morality and truthfulness and honesty. Prabhupada in return asked the question, so those group who was trying to distribute the books by the own means of honesty, how did they go? Could they distribute many books? And a response of Bhurijan Prabhu is, no, they couldn't distribute that many books. So then Prabhupada actually emphatically says that, if there are not many books distributed, then what's the point? So the principle here is the message of Krishna should be spreaded. Not that we follow the four levels, but the principle here is the message of Krishna should be spreaded. And sometimes this is from a blog of His Holiness Kadam Karan Maharaj, and he used the word that this is a transcendental morality, that for some time, for the sake of Krishna, we sometimes do things that are slightly against the religious principle, but that is not the norm. And we have to have the understanding. Shri Shri Radhagiri Govardhan Dhari ki jai. Another example we can think of is in around 1960s, where Srila Prabhupada in USA, the way he started movement, we all know that he started the temple in the storefront. Now, if we think of a time that if Prabhupada would have sticked to building a nice temple, would he be able to create that many devotees, or would he be able to? But probably he would be, we don't know. But if we think that way, then at that time the purpose was to preach Krishna's message far and wide. Prabhupada at that time had only 40 rupees, and 40 rupees we all know is nothing. So how could he, making a big temple was practically not possible back then. But by preaching Krishna's message, there were so many devotees that he could actually cultivate. And now we can see those storefronts are actually created so many devotees. There are so many temples. So does that mean Prabhupada did not follow the rules and regulations? No, he did. But the essence here is that the message of Krishna has to be spread. So that is the difference. Now in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Vishwamitra. He gave an example for Vishwamitra had to eat a flesh of a dog in a case of emergency. So there was an article by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu which I was reading while preparing, and in his article Chaitanya Charan Prabhu quotes that Prabhupada also mentioned a situation in only very limited circumstances when meat can be eaten. That is apad dharma. In case of emergency, for the sake of survival. And how do we understand this contradiction? So our human body is actually a unique opportunity for us to progress and to gain a spiritual realization, right? And that opportunity is not given to any other inhuman body, because we have that intelligence and we have the higher consciousness. So sometimes that is why sacrificing in human body for the purpose of preserving human body, so the message of Krishna can be spreaded, that is allowed. So all the examples that we see, we are coming back to spreading the message of Krishna, to coming back to using our human body for the spiritual upliftment. So all the rules and the regulations that we hear in the scripture are actually basically to develop our spiritual progress and to stop the damage of anti-devotional activity. That is the purpose. And yes, so to summarize, when we talk about the example of Parikshit Maharaj, actually Kshatriya king or a leader, he is supposed to know this matter and apply the punishment appropriately as prescribed in the scripture. That is the duty of the king, because not everyone is as spiritually elevated. So what do we take home from this? What is the learning for us? So one thing to remember, that if we try to remember Krishna with the positive attitude, then as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham sadate yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. That I give them intelligence by which they can come to me. So if we strive to please Krishna, if we strive to spread his message, which pleases him the most, then Krishna gives the intelligence that this is favorable for your spiritual life, this is not favorable for your spiritual life. Sometimes there are mistakes in it, but that's how we learn. Sometimes sometimes we don't understand, but then we have scriptures, we have association of devotees whom we can inquire confidentially, whom we can ask questions. So in yes, so we had a Japa retreat a couple of weeks back, right? In Japa retreat, it was a nice opportunity to actually come back to the point of how Japa is important in our lives, how to focus on Japa. And one common phrase that Prabhu taught us is that Srila Prabhupada gave us is try to hear ourselves chant sincerely. This is the message given by Srila Prabhupada. Now, if you think of a Japa, I was when Urmila Mataji, Urmila Mataji was here, and there was a session where Urmila Mataji mentioned about Japa. She said that Japa is normally not, we find Japa boring because there is no direct sense enjoyment or sense gratification. So when we try to Japa, our mind goes everywhere. And I speak for myself here, mind goes everywhere. So then we think, okay, we have to do the Japa, and then we have to remember Krishna. So it's some effort. But if we still keep doing that by practice, Krishna sees that effort. And that effort actually gives us the most benefit. When Krishna sees that we don't like it, but we are still doing it, we are still trying it, that's when Krishna gives us his mercy. So what is the option for us? If those who option, I believe all of us here, we want to, we are all spiritual seekers. We want to go to Krishna at some stage in our life. This lifetime is Krishna. Prabhupada said that we can go to Krishna in one lifetime. So we have to keep trying. Right, so that is the word, that is the discussion for this verse. Before we move to next verse, does anyone have any comment or question or connection?
Can I share something?
Sure.
Here it says about the apadharma and the emergency situations.
Yes.
I read a pretty interestingly hilarious story about how Lord Buddha, he propagated ahimsa, basically not killing, no violence against anyone, especially animals like that. Now, how come, except very few these days, almost many Buddhists are eating meat? Yeah. So there's a story where a monk is going, and his seniors told him that we are not supposed to eat meat, but then we are not supposed to beg, but whatever comes its own way, you can take it. So you're not supposed to beg, but whatever comes its own way, you take it. He's going with his bow like this, and in the sky there's an eagle flying with like a dead animal in the beak, and then something happens and the eagle drops the animal and it falls in his bowl. And then he thinks, okay, I've not asked for it, it's come to me, so I can eat it. So that was the start of the Buddhist eating meat. In an emergency, it was not an emergency, but he just followed the rule for following the rule that we are not supposed to ask anything, but whatever comes, comes. But then he forgot the high principle of ahimsa, and then he started.
Oh, very nice.
So for us, two things are also important: the principle and the detail.
Yes.
Many times we get stuck into the detail and we forget the principle. But if you remember the principle, generally the details will also follow. Of course, details are important, as we say, our spiritual master always says, love is in the detail. So detail is important, but the principle we have to remember that whenever we do something, it is to please Krishna and his devotees. That's the principle.
Yes, and when I was reading that article, actually, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu said something similar on that line, that sometimes we are so focused on following the rules that we forget the principle, and we take pride. We take pride that, oh, I am so pakka, I follow all rules and regulation, and that pride itself actually takes away from Krishna. So we have to remember the essence. Just remembered one short pastime story, I would say. There was this one Brahmana, and who was very pakka, following all his sadhana, ekdam naishtika. So he would wake up, chant his round, perform his deity worship and everything. And I think it was Kali or an agent of a Kali who was observing that Brahmana and trying to move from his nishtha. And so then he thought, what do I do so that the Brahmana forgets his Shraddha? And then he thought a while, and then he didn't do anything. Do you know the details of the story, Prabhu? Okay.
I have heard the story.
Yeah. So he didn't do anything. And somehow or other the conversation came, and it's like, Kali, you were supposed to deviate this Brahmana from his nishtha. And Kali said, I did not do it purposefully, because if I would have disturbed the Brahmana somehow, because of the repentance of not doing his sadhana, or being deviated from his sadhana, he would have performed bhakti with more intention. Like it would have been so intense, and then he would have come closer to Krishna. So if he's doing his sadhana nicely, perfectly, let him do that, let him be proud about it, and I'm doing my job. So that's how Kali works, so subtle. And hence it is so important for us to remain under the shelter, because it happens to me that when we do some nice service, the pride automatically kicks in. Or some devotee come and praises, oh Mataji, very nice of this service. And I was like, okay, yes, very nice. But then, so we have to keep reminding ourselves that Krishna is the Supreme. He is Anu, we are Vibhu. He is Bhagwan, he has everything. So what am I doing is just nothing in compared to what he has. Okay, any questions, any comments?
Just on that pride thing, I heard in last
Yeah.
class, and it was said like in a bucket full of amrit, like if a person is full of qualities, if you add a drop of pride, a drop of poison, nobody's going to have that bucket full of amrit.
Yes.
So the pride is like that, a drop of poison.
Yeah.
So even if you're full of qualities, if you have one drop of pride,
It spoils everything.
Nobody wants it.
Yeah.
Gurujan Prabhu plays very nicely actually. He's got this chapa book, like a flip calendar, and he says, oh my Lord, please, it's like the photo is of a peacock showing the entire, the entire show, right? So the peacock is proud with all the coloring and all that. The peacock's supposed to be proud, right? So the peacock's picture is there, nice picture, and then Gurujan Prabhu says, oh my Lord, please save me from pride and its companion envy. Because generally pride and envy are together. And then please accept the offering of this humble servant of servant like that. So, we must always also understand that when pride is there, envy is also hiding somewhere. So, we should be very careful and aware.
Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing. Okay, verse 17. Dharma uvacha etadva pandaveyanam yukta marta bhayam vachaha yesham guna gune krishno दौत्यादो भगवान कृतः धर्म उवाच एतद्वा पाण्डवेयानां युक्तं मार्तं भयं वचः येषां गुणा गुणे कृष्णो दौत्यादो भगवान कृतः Dharma uvacha. The personality of religion said, Etad, all this, Vaha, by you, Pandaveyanam, of those who are in Pandava dynasty, Yukta, just befitting, Artha, the sufferer, Abhayam, freedom for all fears, Vachaha, speeches, Yesham, those, Guna Gunehi, by the qualifications, Krishna, even Lord Krishna, Dautyado, the duty of a messenger, etc. Bhagavan, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Kritaha, performed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. The personality of Godhead says, these words just spoken by you befit a person of a Pandava dynasty, captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas. Even Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, performed duty as a messenger. Purport. The assurance and challenges made by Maharaj Parikshit are never exaggeration of his real power. The Maharaj said that even the denizens of heaven could not escape his stringent government if they were violators of the religious principles. He was not falsely proud, for a devotee of the Lord is equally proud as the Lord, sometimes more, is equally as powerful as the Lord, or sometimes more powerful by His grace and His promise made by a devotee. Though it may be ordinarily very difficult to fulfill, is properly executed by the grace of Lord. Very important, I read that sentence again. He was, for the devotee of the Lord is equally as powerful as the Lord, or sometimes more powerful by His grace, and any promise made by a devotee, though it may be ordinarily very difficult to fulfill, is properly executed by the grace of Lord. The Pandavas, by their unalloyed devotional service and full surrender unto the Lord, made it possible for the Lord to become a chariot driver, or sometimes their later messenger. Such duties executed by the Lord for His devotees are always very pleasing to the Lord, because the Lord wants to render service to His unalloyed devotee. Those whose life has no other engagement than to serve the Lord with the full love and devotion. Maharaj Parikshit, grandson of Arjuna, the celebrated friendly servitor of the Lord, was a pure devotee of the Lord like his grandfather. And therefore, the Lord was always with him, even from the time when he was helplessly lying in the womb of his mother and was attacked by the blazing Brahmastra weapon of Ashwatthama. A devotee is always under the protection of Lord, and therefore the assurance of protection by Maharaj Parikshit could never be without meaning. The personality of religion accepted this fact and thus thanked the king for being true to his exalted position. Such a wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. We hear that Srila Prabhupada's purport as his transcendental ecstasy. And when we read this, we get the feeling. So you know how up to verse 16, we were talking about Kali's quality, duty of a Kshatriya, and how the leader should be powerful, righteous, should be follower of a dharma. Now there is a slight shift in the mood, slight shift in the theme. If I'm reading the translation again, the supreme duty, the personality of religion said that these words just spoken by you befit a person of a Pandava dynasty, captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandava. Even Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, performed duty as a messenger. Now, first thing when I read the purpose, I observed that Bull, who is a personification of Adharma, personification of Dharma, who was actually feeling a pain, and Parikshit Maharaj asking different questions. Who has put him in this position? I will protect them even if he be the denizen of the heaven. And in response to the bull, what he says, that he starts glorifying Parikshit Maharaj. Applying this, if we think or introspect on this, reflect on ourselves, or I can think for myself, that our first response, if I'm in the pain and if someone asks, how are you? I start actually accusing the person who has caused me the pain. The bull is not doing that. Bull is glorifying Parikshit Maharaj. Bull is connecting Parikshit Maharaj with Lord Krishna. And that's a beautiful quality, beautiful lesson to take home. That when we are in the adverse situation, Krishna, please bless me with the vision that I can see you. I can see the goodness in that. And not, okay, I am in this situation because of so and so happened, or because so and so person did this to me. Such a beautiful point that I think it's worth discussing. And this is Bull talking about, this is Dharma, because he is also devotee of the Lord. But then till now what we have seen, we have heard the prayers of Kunti Maharani. Kunti Maharani, when Krishna was leaving from Hastinapur, and Kunti Maharani, in order to stop Krishna from leaving, he runs to the chariot, and first thing he does is, she offers glorification. Tatha paramahamsanam, namashe purusam tvadyam ishvare prakrute param. Alaksham sarvabhutanam antarbahar vyavasthitam. So she first glorifies Krishna. Bhishma Dev, who was at the time of departing, he was lying on the bed of the arrows. So much pain, we cannot imagine. These personalities are so exalted. When we talk about their strength, when we talk about their tolerance, we just have to imagine. It is beyond our conception. So much pain that we have to, they must be going through. And as Krishna enters to that arena where Bhishma Dev was lying, he starts glorifying Krishna. Just before couple of verses, where Bhumi Devi actually, she was asked a question, she was crying, and Bull asked him a question, that why are you crying? And then she starts remembering the pastime of Krishna. So these are the qualities of devotees. In all circumstances, happiness or distress or pain or misery, they are thinking of Krishna. Something to aspire for, something to strive for. Sorry, I thought this was a very nice point. So let's go on the purport. So now, from verse 14 to 16, we have heard that Parikshit Maharaj says, Parikshit Maharaj says that whoever causes the offense, whoever is dishonest or miscreant, they should be punished. Then in next verse 15, Parikshit Maharaj again says, even he be the denizen of the heaven, he should be punished. And then in the verse that we just discussed, he said that it is the duty of the ruler to punish the miscreant. So just to relate it was a time of Maharaj Ugrasen, when he was enthroned as a king again after killing Kamsa. He performed a Rajasuya Ragna, and for Rajasuya Ragna there is so much, for the sacrifice there is so much wealth needed, and people, the Duta of the king, they go around to the different kingdoms, and it happened in Yudhishthira Maharaj Yagna also, if you remember. They go around and actually ask for the wealth. They ask the king that, or you either you accept this king as the supreme, or you fight a battle with the king. And during that time, Pradyumna, who is the grandchild of Lord Krishna, he went around and went to go to Kubera, Indra, for seeking I think wealth. Why I'm saying this? That they could go to demigod. That means they were powerful kings. You know, they could go to demigod and ask, approach demigods. Demigods are themselves are also very powerful, but a human going to the demigod, that means they were powerful king. And then, so when Dharma Bull, he heard the words of Maharaj Parikshit, he could understand that he is the devotee of the Lord. He could understand, he could relate him to his grandfathers. He could understand that what he is saying is actually truth, and there is no exaggeration. That's what Prabhupada mentions in the Purport, that because he is the devotee, he has the lineage. So there is no exaggeration in it. So Pandava dynasty is an illustrious dynasty, right? So, and then just a background, how we all know Mahabharata, and we all know that Pandava and Krishna, they were very close, they were friends. But actually the first time when they met is during the Swayamvar of Draupadi. At that time Pandava was around 25-26 years of age. Before that they haven't met Krishna. They have heard about Krishna, they have heard about his activities, that he has killed Kamsa and he has killed so many demons, and they have heard that Jarasandha attacked Mathura 17 times. So they have heard the glories of Krishna, but they haven't met Krishna. During the Draupadi Swayamvar, that is the first time they met Krishna. And we also know the past, we also know the story of Mahabharata, that during the time of Swayamvar, actually prior to that, the pastime of Varnavrat happened, where Pandavas were sent into palace of Shelak, where they were, meant to be, the palace meant to be burnt, and they were meant to be killed. And luckily, by the wisdom of Vidura, they could escape. And because they were wandering around, then Vyasdev met them and they told them that there is a Swayamvar of Draupadi happening. Draupadi was most beautiful princess at that time, and they should go for the Swayamvara. So following the instruction of Vyasadev, they went. And then we know the story that there were so many other princes. They were like Duryodhan and Karna and Shalva and all that, and they couldn't hit the target, which was set very difficult. Drupad Maharaj set out the difficult target, and when Kshatriya could not satisfy that target, the challenge was then opened to Brahmanas, and then Arjuna stood up for him. Arjuna hit the fish by looking at the reflection of the fish in the water, and when that happened, because they were dressed up as the Brahmanas, they were not identified, and all the Kshatriya that were present in that assembly, they felt that it is their insult, that you invite us for Swayamvar, you set up such a difficult target which we cannot meet, and now the Brahmana does so they felt an insult, and they started attacking Drupad Maharaj on that assembly. And Bhima and Arjuna, they were there. So then Drupad Maharaj took the shelter of those Brahmanas, basically Bhima and Arjuna, and Bhima pulled up the tree from somewhere and started fighting, and then Krishna intervened. And Krishna said that, no, stop this fighting. So this is the first time, Krishna, Pandava met Krishna. So the point I'm trying to make is, in order to love Krishna, in order to be a devotee of Krishna, it's not always necessary to see Krishna face to face. Another example is Rukmani Devi. Rukmani Devi fell in love with Krishna just by hearing his glories. And then she wrote a letter and Krishna kidnapped her. You know, so beautiful these pastimes are. Yes, I lost my point. Yes, so basically we don't need to see Krishna face to face in order to love him. Krishna reciprocates us, and that's what Prabhupada mentions in the purport, that the pure devotee of Krishna reciprocates them, and then Dharma is saying to Parikshit Maharaj that your grandfather were a friend of Krishna, they were powerful, they were righteous, and you are the grandchild of such a righteous king. So this all makes sense. What Parikshit Maharaj was saying, it was convincing. What Bull was saying, what Bull was understanding, it was acceptable. And then Prabhupada talks about, Prabhupada talks in the purport that Krishna takes care of his devotees. And then there are so many examples of this. Few that I came into my mind when I was preparing is Draupadi. When there was an injury in Krishna's finger, Draupadi torn her sari, and during the Vastraharan, Krishna provided her unlimited saris, one after another, like infinite saris. Krishna and Arjuna were so close, and Arjuna is devotee of Krishna, he became his sarthi. Rajasuya Yagna, Krishna washed the feet of the guest. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The purpose of that Rajasuya Yagna is to establish Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he himself welcomes the guest and washes his feet. Who does that? Sudama's example, when Sudama was sent to Dwarka by his wife because of the poor condition, what he took with him is just a handful of rice in his hand. And Krishna in return, when what he gave is just the entire palace and jewelries and all sorts of opulence and wealth. Fruit seller pastimes. You know, these are the pastimes we have heard, and you think about it, they come into mind. There are so many that probably you could also think and relate to them. But if we reflect on our lives, then there has been reciprocation in our cases too. If we think. We had a beautiful bhajan night yesterday. I was not here, but I was watching online, and I know this is how I take it when such services come in my way, services where there is a public appearance. I shy away, or I am hesitant. But then you think, okay, no, it is my duty to serve, and then you take up a service, and then Krishna does the magic. You end up sitting here giving a Bhagavatam class, or you glorifying Krishna through beautiful bhajan. Yesterday night was very beautiful. So that is the mercy of Krishna. This Krishna reciprocates. Sometimes we just need to be in line to see that. We need to be in line, and for that also, I feel we have to ask His mercy. That Krishna, I'm trying this for you. Please help me. So we have to ask His mercy, but that's okay. He's our Father. We can ask. We shouldn't be feeling shy for that. Yes, and Another example of Krishna reciprocating, or Krishna's devotee actually going beyond to serve him. Gopis are the ultimate example. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, from verses 140, from Adi Lila chapter 4, verse 67 to 169, I'll just read it, a short description. What did gopis do? Social customs, spiritual injunctions, bodily demands, fruitive actions, shyness, patience, bodily pleasure, self-gratification and the path of varnashram dharma, which is difficult to give up. The gopis have forsaken all this, as well as their own relatives and their punishments and scolding for the sake of serving Krishna. They render loving devotional service to him for the sake of his enjoyment. I don't know if the surrender, this called me surrender. There is no conception. Here is what is in their life is just Krishna, nothing else. And how does Krishna reciprocate that? Krishna, in order to experience that, Krishna has to come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In order to understand the feeling of Srimati Radharani, how does it feel to love someone so unconditionally? He has to come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is internal reason. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came for us also, people like us also. That in the age of Kali Yuga, there is only way for us is Sankirtan Yuga Dharma. Sankirtan Yuga Dharma. Only way for us is to chant and dance and spread the glories of the Lord. So, yes, I think, yes, that Keshav Maharaj in one of his classes, he talks about this, and I somehow connected with very much, so I remembered it. His class is about being comfortable with uncomfortable, and he shared his own experience that he was once asked to take part in drama, and then he was hesitant, and then the Mataji he was asking to perform in drama. I was like, Prabhu, it is for service of Krishna. He was not Keshav Maharaj then, he was Sudapa Prabhu. Prabhu, it is all for service for Krishna. And then Maharaj is like, yeah, what to do? When he said service for Krishna, you have to do it, right? But then the point he makes that when you are in such a situation, doing a service which you are not comfortable with, that's when you come closest to the Krishna. Because that's when we are the most surrendered. Otherwise, we are all dependent upon abilities. I can do that, I have the ability to do that. We don't go to Krishna that easily. And I'm guilty that I do that too. Okay, if I can do that, then why do you extend to someone else? No, but because we think from the bodily concept of life, we think we are the doer. You know, another reason for chanting also, when we chant, I think Prabhu mentioned during the class that chanting is not a time to plan our day, or chanting is not to plan our spiritual life. Chanting is the time to be with Krishna. But when we do that, we think in our mind that we are the doer, and hence we act accordingly. So we just have to, this comes with the practice. I know these are all ideologies, but it is possible to practice. So this comes with the practice, with continuous service and seeking mercy. So yeah, Krishna never stops loving us. He's always there. He comes as a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He comes here is with the Paramatma. Just small realization, and then I'll stop that. I realize it's 9 o'clock. During our Bhakti Vriksha classes, we are reading. Currently, we are reading chapter 8, and before chapter 8. Currently we are in chapter 9. I think we were summarizing chapter 8, where it talks about different ways of reaching Krishna. So there is a varnashram dharma, and there is a bhakti yoga, and there is a gnana yoga, and there is a karma yoga. There are all so many ways. So if we think the whole in a perspective, we have come into the material world by our own desire. Krishna didn't send us. But because we wanted to come, he said, okay, here is the world for you, go and enjoy. He didn't want us to come, so he came to very well, okay, no, don't go. Braj-Deepika, come back. But I didn't listen, I'm here. Okay, if you are here, that's fine. Then he is giving us different ways to go back to him. If he doesn't want us to be with him, why would he show us the way to go there? you know. And I can speak from the experience. I have a son. I tell him 1, 2, 3, 4 times. If he doesn't look like, he'll learn by the experience. But Krishna doesn't do that. Krishna, he says, look, okay, I am here with your Paramatma. Not in this lifetime. Whatever form of body you take, I am coming with you. He doesn't do that. And then, if we are in the human, then there is Bhakti Yoga, there is Bhagavad Gita, there is Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming, and then there are devotees who are reminding us of our duties, who are reminding us. So we are so fortunate. You know, when we hear about Kali Yuga, that of course the time is difficult, but at the same time we are so fortunate that we have this moment. We are so fortunate that by Krishna's mercy also we somehow or other we came into association of devotees. So yeah, it's 9 o'clock. I stop there. If any more comments, questions, correction, please feel free to unmute, not unmute, share.
Many years ago, I heard, I could find that the first canto in this 17 or 19 chapters, and they represent the 19 markings of Krishna's lotus feet. It was given by Suhotra Maharaj, that I couldn't find the connection between the markings of the. Someone had actually, Sagar Maharaj told us, he was then Uttar Shloka. So that he told us, and he also forgot somehow, just asked him again. He said he doesn't remember, nothing in writing. Basically, it was, chapter 1 is relating to this, all the 19 marks on Krishna's lotus feet. Let's see if somehow we can find it. It's very interesting. I mean, it might be someone's just meditation, someone's just, so I thought I'll just say, if we can find something like that, it's interesting. When we study Bhagavatam, there are some things which you always think, especially when our minds are not into it, we think it's coming again and again and again and again. And some of the matters are not relevant in our life. I mean, I'm not a king. I'm never going to be king. I'm not a Kshatriya. Never going to be Kshatriya. Why would I hear all this? The mind immediately, says this. So, but then as you said that, there's always something to learn, some message to come. And as you said that the message here we see is that even though both the Dharma and Mother Earth, they're both in pain, but still they're glorifying the Lord and His devotees. That's a very wonderful lesson to take.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Okay. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.